Now, over 40 US states have sued Meta Platforms and its Instagram unit, accusing them of fueling a youth mental health crisis. Joining us on the broadcast to further discuss this, we have the board member and past co-chair of the Mental Health Board of San Francisco and also a mother to a teenager, Ulash Dunlap, joining us. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Ulash, now we know
Thank you for having me.
Children have long been an appealing demographic for big business in the hope of attracting them as consumers at a young age. But when they may be more impressionable and solidifying brand loyalty, the ethics kick in. For Meta, younger consumers may help secure more advertisers. It's an open secret who hope kids will buy their products as they grow up. But this complaint clearly asserts that Meta's motive is profit. What's your first reaction to these lawsuits?
Well, I feel like firstly that we've had a mental health crisis when it comes to social media for a long time, especially during the pandemic, when more and more of our teens, especially as they were getting younger, they were using social media more. Especially with Meta and TikTok, like Instagram and TikTok, our teenagers are using it much, much more. And the feeds that they are getting, I don't know if you've had a chance to, I don't know if you're on Instagram and TikTok, but as a 14-year-old parent, I see what gets pushed in to their feeds through the algorithms. So to me, that's really concerning as a parent and as a mental health professional, that there's no regulations around what's getting pushed and advertised very early on with these teenagers, especially while their brains are growing and there's increasing anxiety already when you're a teenager, and to have to deal with that kind of constant social media kind of injection just adds to the fuel for our teens.
Right. You mentioned TikTok, and of course, we also have YouTube. These two platforms are already facing hundreds of lawsuits filed on behalf of children and school districts about the addictiveness when it comes to social media, as business models are designed to maximize the time that's spent by children on such platforms.
Right, it's dopamine, right? You're getting a rush. I don't know if you go on Instagram as an adult. For our teens, that's their communication method. They are not even talking to each other. They are texting or WhatsApping each other. So that is their world. And how do we, it's not just the parents, but also how does Meta and these big companies also regulate what they are actually churning out to our teens, who are very impressionable, but also their brains are growing very quickly.
Right. Ulash, you had mentioned that there are no regulations on what's getting pushed and advertised. And as we speak, US state authorities are seeking to patch holes that are left by the US Congress's inability to pass new online protections for children, despite years of discussions.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert on what the regulations are, but as a parent and as a mental health professional, when I'm looking at the content with the teens, my clients and my own child, I'm seeing that what is getting regulated, or is it that teens are so savvy now, they're able to kind of bypass a lot of these kind of rules and regulations that are, or stipulations that are put in place. For example, was I think TikTok or Instagram, one of the companies put you have to watch a video, but our kids are so savvy now, they can bypass that. So how do we make it even more kind of stringent so that our teens are being kept safe, especially with the increase in anxiety and depression, and especially body image is so huge right now in social media. I call it doom scrolling, when you're looking constantly at these feeds and the algorithm is really shifting to feed more of that data to our teens.
Absolutely, and the filters don't help at all, Parmeshwar, right? Of course, those pictures are in fact filtered, but some of the charges include collecting the personal data of its youngest users without the permission of the parents. Can we, going forward, expect more age-appropriate standards when it comes to such platforms that are used by teenagers?
I hope so. I mean, that would be my wish as a mental health professional and as a parent of a teenager. But I wonder how that gets regulated in the United States, like you were saying, or any country, when profit is the number one margin. And so it's not just one state or one country that has to regulate it. I wonder, collaboratively and collectively, as a world, we have to be much more on it, because it's not just the United States, it's other countries like the UK and India, I'm wondering as well, that for teens, that's we're having similar issues.
Ulash, thank you so much for joining us on NDTV this morning. The latest lawsuits against Meta do seek financial damages and an end to Meta's practices that are in violation of the law. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on NDTV.